What's going on? Boys, thanks to our patrons and Fiverr customers, subscribe to our Patreon free for behind the scenes stuff. Arm yourselves, life stuff. I've been wanting to make a video about the interpretation part for about a week now, but we stumbled into another soft skill, so this is a double feature. Now, at my job, I have an array of responsibilities, but one of them is ensuring things get done no matter what. And sometimes that means taking over other people's projects when unforeseen events arise. And I can do that to an extent. I try to keep my schedule loaded in such a way I can take over, say, two unexpected projects at any given time. And when you take over a project, that means doing a lot of legwork, but also someone else's legwork. Legwork they understand. You don't understand exactly. Because when people are doing things, they have their ideas for what they want and how they want to do it. And when you take over, that vision is lost because only they can do what they want to do in exactly the way they want to do it. But there is a desire to keep their vision intact as much as possible. But this week, I got hit with three, and I had my own project coming up, and things fell apart. Particularly because one of the projects was a complete disaster. It's like the equivalent of trying to save someone's marriage, but you've been body swapped or role swapped into one of the people who are married with none of the knowledge of what's been happening in that marriage. So people are talking to you intensely and like you're supposed to know what's going on, and you don't. And I've been dying inside and outside recently. So dealing with this one in particular was it is challenging because it's not done yet. It's in remission at the moment. And it became so consuming, I forgot my project was coming close, and then today it was here. Projects are like pregnancies. If gestation were an active process. So I woke up this morning and realized today I'll need to give birth to a squelchy non-child. This is a scheduled miscarriage, and the entire day was a panic. And there's only so much you can do the day of, because in projects like these, much of the work needs to happen well in advance. It's not like submitting an essay at the last minute. It's like submitting a car at the last minute, but you haven't ordered the engine or the transmission or anything. So I was freaked out because I thought I was doomed, and I was busying myself trying to make what I had better, which can make a little bit of a difference, but that's like spending all your time trying to make the best rice for a steak dinner in which you don't have the steak. And this was a public social event. Fucking disastrous. And you don't have anyone coming to save your ass. And the way these sorts of things work is you are expected to cover for other people, and this time around, no resentment to the people you're covering for because, well, they're volunteers and their circumstances made sense. But no one is coming to save your ass. And when you cover for other people, there isn't any glory or credit in it because that's your job. But when your shit fucks up, even if your shit fucked up because you were worrying about other people's shit, that's a problem. And that's what I was freaked out about. And you can always MacGyver some shit, which I did. I hope the glowing caseworker assigned to monitor me approves of the level of smoke and mirrors I pulled to get the most out of the least in some areas, but there's still no central stake. It's like going to the circus and there are no elephants, there are no clowns. It's just a big tent and already pissed people. So, in a last ditch effort, here's what I did, and it worked better than I thought it could have. I bought a lot of alcohol and I got everybody drunk. It worked. Everybody walked away happy. Because here's what alcohol does: alcohol makes most people amiable and amenable. You get people drinking, and their moods elevate a bit, and then you can misdirect them. But not in a mean way. Back to the circus example, everybody's a bit pissed, they show up, there are no clowns, there are no elephants. But you get them drunk, and you can make the show the fact they are drunk in a circus tent together. And I was shocked by how willing and excited, actually, people were to go along with this. It ended up being one of the better things I've put together. Instead of dinner and a show, you get alcohol and purposeful sentiments reinforced. You're excited now to rally around. Because it always seems like alcohol makes people want to believe in things while they're drunk. So people are excited to become more suggestible because we've been talking about this judgment thing recently, the way people crave judgment. I think another thing people crave is to be led to believe something. That's why everyone likes a guru. That's why everyone respects a salesman. As shitty and skeptical as people are, they want to be convinced of things. Even if that convincing is nothing more than a reinforcing of their present beliefs or a little interesting twist on it. And while this was going on, I was thinking about Mad Men. You deal with older business people or advanced in age and in position officey types. Many of them like having alcohol around. And with the Mad Men thing, thinking back originally, I thought it was an era and alcoholism thing, and it is, but there is greater purpose to this. And all the stuff I'm saying, I think, is obvious to anyone in a position like this, or in sales or something like that. Should be basically obvious. That's what schmoozing is, or can be. The point of the alcohol is not just recreation. It's also amiability and suggestibility. It's one of the few times most people, will be happy you are opening them up to suggestion. All I did was get them drunk, get them talking, and then reinforce our mission statement every now and then. And the entire thing was uncomfortably warm and personable. So, one soft skill: when you have a problem or when you need people to buy into whatever shit you're selling, throw alcohol at them. But thinking back to my earlier nonprofit experiences, that's what most fundraisers are, the most successful ones. You think of these classy or well-dressed occasions, and that is the appearance, but in fact, they are degeneracy pits. But I'm not complaining about that. I wish I had caught on to that earlier. Alcohol is a super high-impact tool. And then the second part of this video: interpretation, another soft skill. This one does connect with the Deus Ex people crave judgment thing. I'm not sure which positive feelings to link this to, but I've found one of the best ways to make someone feel positive is for you to tell them your interpretation of them. Now, as easy as this is, this can go wrong. So in your interpretation, stay away from negative things. Anything that could be taken as pure criticism or pure negativity. Save those sorts of interpretations for people you care about. Because I think this is something people do naturally. What we're talking about here is using this natural process in a more focused way. And if it isn't clear, what am I talking about when I say interpretation or your interpretation of someone? I mean your personal caricaturization of them plus your mental narrative about them. I've found compliments to be odd in the social soft skills department. Compliments can work on some people, but they also make other people suspicious. Now, the benefit of compliments is as long as you aren't overdoing it, even if they disagree or recognize what you're doing, the occasional but consistently applied compliment is difficult to fight, at least without looking like an ass. And done right, even if someone is suspicious, they do recognize what you're doing, it still creates a mild positive effect. But because of the suspicion, that's something to be careful with, and I prefer this interpretation approach. Because it seems like people are way less suspicious of this. And it's also much harder to get wrong with better effects. All you do is you get to know somebody for a while, and then at an appropriate moment, something they do that connects with this caricature you're about to drop on them, you hit them with a, I always appreciate when you do this, because it speaks to the way you're a that sort of person, and it's always a big help, or it's appreciated. A more concrete example, someone usually, but not always, but usually enough, makes a point of helping. They help you out in this moment, they do something, and you tell them you notice they make a point of helping and you appreciate it, and they're the sort of selfless person who thinks about other people, and people like that, people like them, make communities better. Now, you might not know why they're helping. They might not be a super selfless person. They might have other reasons for doing helpful shit. But it doesn't matter because you've interpreted them or you've shared with them your interpretation of them in a positive way. Think of an OCD person, maybe to an annoying degree. I appreciate how orderly you are because orderly people make everything run smoother. They're always very easy to deal with, and thank you for being this sort of person. Same thing. Even if your interpretation of them is incomplete or incorrect, if it's based on something tangible and it's positive, people usually have positive and lasting reactions to that. And I think it comes down to the craving judgment thing. Because it's not just a compliment about them in particular, you're attaching them to a sort of person or a pattern of behavior that is reviewed by other people positively. Saying you're a good person can have positive effects, but saying you're a good sort of person seems to have stronger effects for some reason. I don't know why that works better. I think there's also a level of flattery involved that runs deeper than typical flattery. I think people like feeling like they are someone worth noticing or thinking about. A compliment feels like it's operating on a basic senses level. A compliment is something you can see. Not all compliments are just things you can see, but you get my point. These interpretations, or this deeper noticing, or this attaching them to some socially positive or desirable archetype, is something you need to think about. It's not something you can just notice. you need to mentally process. People react positively to that, in my experience. Even if you're completely wrong, which is the interesting thing. Where an incorrect compliment makes people suspicious or even upset, an incorrect interpretation usually gets accepted. I don't know why that's the case either, but it is something to think about. And in general, it seems like the best stuff comes from taking what happens naturally or what people do naturally and then tweaking it and focusing it. But those are the two soft skills for this video. Get people drunk, give them something they'll feel good about believing in or they're excited to believe in, and then make them feel seen. Make them feel like they are one of the good ones, whoever the good ones are, or one of the desirable ones, whatever, depending on the person. But don't force it. Become someone who does these sorts of things naturally. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't.